Today's daf of Achner Shel Pesach. Today's daf of Mazayim, which is the daf of Achner Shel Pesach, and this is being pre-recorded. We're continuing daf Mem Zayim. We're learning about Gedus. We have different opinions whether you need Mila and Tefillah or just Mila. Tefillah alone, we say everyone agrees is enough. At least the Tefillah we mentioned before. Not like Rabbi Yossi says you need both Mila and Tefillah. And then we had an opinion that Mila alone is good enough. So what it continues now. Torah we learned. Mem Zayin and Aleph got 20 lines on top of the page. And then we also mentioned about a gator comes along and says, I happen to be a gator. He says he modeled himself. The question is whether, do we have to go to mikveh and so on and so forth. So the Gemara now talks about someone that we thought was a yid and comes along and says, I'm not. I'm a ger. So I learned. Shvatet tzedek ben isha ben achi ben ger. And we can't from here learn after this pasuk. I'm going to view the gesh and this guy a bit bezin. How is a get? Somebody converts in front of a bezin. That's a valid gate. Or the ben of an atzal, if he converts on his own, ain't no gate. It's not a valid gate. What's the story? Maisa, there was a story. Be'echa, there was a story of the person. Shemol ben Abiuda, capable of Abiuda. He said, I became a gate by myself. I'm going to view the Yeshlach Eidim, you have witnesses, Amle Lav, no. Yeshlach Abonim, you have children, Amle Hein, yes. Amle Nem and Atalish Laschal, you want to, we thought you were a Yisrael, you tell me now that you were a Goy. So therefore, you have the right to pass yourself and say that you're a gay. But you have no benecha, you have no right to go ahead and to disqualify your own children on other people. And did actually say that you're not believed regarding children? But Tanya, we learned, it says in Pasuk Yakir regarding a Pchoy, it says that that the Pchoy, the Ben Asnua, Yakir, you can recognize that the father is believed to say who's the Pchoy, who's not the Pchoy. Yakiren Lachedim, he can make it known to other people. That means if Bezin, let's say, for example, don't recognize who the oldest one is, the father will to say, this is my pchayr, and let him get double portion. The person will to say, this is my pchayr. Just like to say, this son is my pchayr. Believe to say that this son's mother was a divorcee in Hamakoyin. Therefore, he's a chol. I've been chalutza, or I married a chalutza, somebody who his husband died. Left no children, had to marry a brother-in-law, and instead gave a chalitza, and therefore midrabanan a kohen can marry her, and I did. So the children are chalolim, and he believed in all that. The chachamim say chachamim say he's not believed at all. So what was he closing there? That Yehuda is saying that he is believed regarding his children. He's telling them that they are chalolim, so he is believed. What he told me that he's only believed regarding himself. If he says I'm a convert and not his children. We assume they were Jewish. Says the Gemara, this is what he said. So you're coming along and saying you're a gay. I mean, you're coming along and you said you became a gay on your own, which means you're not a valid gay, which means that you're telling us that you're a goy. And therefore, since you're telling us clearly that you are a goy, in vain, you're not believed because a goy is not believed at all. So that's why you cannot believe about your children. Avina says, no, this is what he meant to say. Not that you're a goy, according to your own words, and therefore you're not believed. Even though you claim you're a gay, but since you said, between yourselves, it's not a valid gayness. This is what he said. Yesh l'chaban, you have children? Hein, yes. Yesh l'chabanei banim, you have grandchildren? Hein, yes. Amalei, he said to him, Neman ato lifsa benecha, from Yaakov will not that you are believed to disqualify your children and call them gay. So, for example, with girls, you cannot marry. But you're not believed to passel your grandchildren. If you don't even you believe to say and his younger son, it's not believe the older son. What does that mean? What do you mean to believe in his younger son and not his older son? It doesn't mean young in age. In age. If it's young, but happens to have children, that he's considered like a gadol. And therefore he's not believed. God will be but if he's older, but he has no children, he is believed. And the halacha is Kavash Reb Nachman Yitzchak. The halacha is actually Reb Nachman by Yitzchak. It says that not only is he not believed regarding his grandchildren, he's not even believed regarding his own children. He's only believed regarding himself. Says the Gemara, yeah. But Tanya Kavash Ravina, we look like Ravina, Ahuli and Yaakov, but he's only believed when it comes to Yaakov regarding who's the firstborn and who wasn't the firstborn. So we learned. How does Geras work? Geras this guy, if somebody converts, wants to convert, we want to discourage them in order to determine whether they're coming from, for altruistic reasons or they actually are genuine. So, but today, we tell them first, this guy, why do you think you want to become a convert? Don't you know she throws as a devoyim? Don't you know that Eden today are impoverished, the chufim, terofim, that Eden are actually having a very, very difficult time, that they are oppressed and that they're harassed and so on and so forth. The Yisudim are they have all kinds of tzaras that befall them. Even if he says, I know, any could die. If he says, look, I know about all the problems that the Eden have, the Einik Kedai, and I'm not even worthy of becoming a Yid, then the Kabbalah they say, beyond. We accept him because he's genuine. When Medina said, what do we notify mitzvahs, some of the strict mitzvahs, some of the lenient mitzvahs? How do you value strict and lenient? Is it talking about complex mitzvahs and not complex mitzvahs or punishments? Mitzvahs have more severe punishment and less severe punishments. And also you tell them over the sin of lekachikapei ma'aseroni, that the sin that somebody denies others lekachikapei, but you always have to be generous. We also tend to notify them the punishment of generally of the mitzvahs. Before he became Jewish, he ate treif fats. He did nothing wrong. Shabbos, you will Shabbos. He ate let's kill it. Once you become Jewish, you get punished. Chalalta Shabbos on a skilla. Just like we try to discourage him by telling him the punishment on mitzvahs, we also tell him the reward of mitzvahs. We tell him that the world to come is only for righteous people. Today cannot do too much good, because the Yetzer Hara is constantly out, out trying to prevent them from doing good. And nor do they have that much punishment as well. We don't have that much punishment at all. So we don't have it that good. In other words, you shouldn't think it's the end of the Eden are totally doomed and condemned. In Ma'aber Olav, and you don't tell them too many things. Don't go excessive to try to scare them. They medaktikin Olav, and you are not that also particular on him at all. Kibble, if he accepts everything that we said to him, then we immediately circumcise him, and we circumcise him in order to go ahead with the mitzvah. And they want to explain each part of the brayso. The shtayr by tzitzin ha'ma'akvin. What happens if they circumcise it and then they have a couple of strings that are still attached? Is a milah chayzim molas. They go back and they continue the circumcision. Second time. Stop it. So it's healed. My bill is miyad. We table him. Vishnei tamid chachamim einim l'gavin. You have two. Before we learned, we have three judges. Now it seems to say two. The more we'll talk about it. Umadina is a mix of mitzvah the strict and lenient mitzvahs. Tava v'oleh goes to mikvah, goes stands up. Arei kisol chalvar is a full-fledged Yid. Isha noshim. What about as a woman? How do you deal with her? Noshim mashivas oisei b'mayim, the women who put her in the water. Ad savar until the neck. Mishnei tamidacham oimil b'chutz. The two rabbis standing on the outside. Umadina is a mitzvahs kala mitzvahs the strict mitzvahs and lenient mitzvahs. This applies whether you're a ger or whether you are a liberated slave. We'll see later why a liberated slave has to go through Gatus again. What kind of mikvah do you go to? The same kind of mikvah that it needs to go to, a proper mikvah. Ger ve'ev meshucher, and a ger and a slave that was liberated. You table them Anything which is considered intersects or intercepts by tefillin does not allow the water to contact your skin. The same rules apply to a convert and an eved. We learn. Let's go through the brayso carefully. Let me say, why do you want to be Megayah? We tell us from the mitzvahs, the harsh ones and the lenient ones. My time and why? The part of different. If he wants to walk away, let him step away now. That gadim are difficult to eat, just like this leprosy called sapachas. It says, the nilva hageh, the gay will escort you. It literally means they'll be added onto the Beis Yaakov. Which is a kind of a leprosy. So this is the reason why we try to discourage a potential ger from becoming a convert. Why are they cutting sapachas? So Tezer brings many different reasons, and either Avram Agrei says because they were frumer than the Yidden, and therefore the Yetzer Hara says, you see, or the Malchus the Satan says, here's a guy, he became a Yid, and he's frumer than the Yidden who were born Yidden, it's their duty to behave this way. Others say they still have some tendencies from their early days when they were not Jewish, and therefore may bad influence on other Yidden. And Rashi says it means that they're not, that we are responsible for them. And therefore, it makes it difficult. Traces disagree because the Gemara says that the Geir were not included in Arvus. The Gemara continues. We tell them the Avedas of Lekachichlapeya, Maiser, might have a white piece of Avedas. Since the Ben Noach gets killed for stealing, a Yid does not get killed stealing, does not get punished for stealing less than a Pruta because another Yid would be Meichel. But Goyim is also thing is Mechila, so they're liable even for less than Pruta. But nor can they ever return it. And what happens? They get killed. And by Yid we have an option. Beheshiv is like Zayl. But a Goy he gets killed. And this one is Mitzvah ben Neich. So therefore we inform them of all of these mitzvahs. And they shouldn't go ahead and accusing them. We tell them election to pay, they shouldn't go ahead and say, oh, these people coming to my property, they got nothing. You say, no, you have to learn how to be generous and share your wealth. They ain't mad being all of the not too strict with them, and not too excessive. My code was supposed to it says by Naomi and Rus. But Teda and Naomi saw that Rus defiantly wants to continue with Naomi to go back to the Eden. Eat with her, but stop talking to her. This is what she said. Also, I want you to know that you're not allowed to walk beyond Chum. So she answered back, wherever you can walk, I'm going to walk. And she said, also one yichud. He said, you're not allowed to have any kind of yichud. It's a mat. So she says, Basha Talina, wherever you sleep, I sleep. So again, so that's not a problem. She says, Mafkida, Sheish Meis mitzvah, 630 mitzvah, so daunting. He says, Amcha, your nation, my nation. Also, Avodah Zarah. So then she said, but Avodah Zarah is Ashlas. She answers back, your God is my God. Then she continues, Arba Mrs. Nimshal Bezna, 4 kinds of capital punishment. So hard to make sure you don't get punished when there's capital punishments. So she said, Basha Tamusi, almost the way I have to die, that's how I die. Based for Nimshal Bezna, you know that the 2 separate graveyards for the Shayim. The Shomer covered, I don't mind, that's where I have to end up. The Yad, but she saw she saw how defiant she was and how insistent she was. She stopped trying to discourage her. Kibble Malach Miyad, you serve straight away. My time why? Because she mitzvah once they're makabel mitzvahs, then we don't want to delay by a minute. So we go to we go mala straight away. We do milah straight away. The shtayda by tzitzin amakri and amila. Remember, what's considered these strings that are still holding back to full circumcision? If that's the flesh that surrounds most of the crown. And cannot eat truma until you finish this meila. We're talking about the flesh that's surrounding the height, the majority of the height of the crown. The slappy, once it's cured, Matbilas go to mikveh, the yad straight away. The slappy in only if it's cured. Like the slappy, by time of wine, we should because the Maya Mars a Makkah, because water can actually cause more pain to the Makkah, to the wound. Sufficient. The Gemara of Rabbi Yochanan gets us like we said, we had peasant. Rabbi Yochanan, the listener, the Tana, Rabbi Yochanan, the Tana learned that there were three people there. In what respect? He if he regrets the fact that he became a Yid and he behaves again like another Yid, and he gets a Yiddish girl engaged, Yisrael Mumir Karinabe. He's still considered a Yid, the Kedusha, it's a valid Kedusha, and they need a get. We thought right now, what are you comparing an Eved Meshuchah here? That even though he's liberated, he was raised an Eved, and during an Abdus, he had to become Jewish, and he had the same laws as the women. Now that he's liberated, he has to go through the motions again. The Kabbalah, all of our mitzvahs, except the yoke of the mitzvahs. But Emil ask a question. What it says, what he beget, ain't the Kabbalah. But Eved, the Kanani does not have to go through Kabbalah's mitzvahs again, because he already lived like a Yid all this time. And has the same faith as the Yiddish woman. Rav Shimon Elazar, two opinions. Rav Shimon Elazar, one opinion says that you have to go through the conversion again, and one opinion says you don't. Time you learn, it doesn't possibly by a woman, a captive. You wore and you took back a home a woman, and you'll have to convert her. Boss says, if you assume she 30 days, you keep her there, you let her grow, nails grow, make her look ugly, and let her cry for her family. Medram, when do we say that? For we wait all this time. She did not accept to become a convert. Abel Kibla, the moment she accepted to become a convert, you go to mikvah straight away. And she permitted straight away. Rav Shimon also says, even though she did not accept the mitzvahs, you can force, you can still force her to become a shivcha. Because all the tefillah of an Eved is against their will. And then afterwards, when you set them the first time around for an Eved or a shivcha, basically they're coerced. So the second time, but if they're liberated, they have to go through conversion again. And then he goes ahead and he plays with her in order to free her, and he sets her free. And he sets her free. And permitted straight away. So what do we say? According to Rav Shimon, that an Eved can be forced, even when they're liberated, they're forced to go through the tefillah, and she becomes a full-fledged Yid. That means you don't really need Kabbalah's mitzvahs. We are forcing her to go to the mikvah. There's no real Kabbalah's mitzvahs there, and she becomes a full-fledged Yid. According to Rabbanim, they hold that no, they need Kabbalah's mitzvahs, so they hold you don't force her to go to the mikvah again. So Amar Rava says, Rava, we'll stop here. I want to wish everyone a good Yom Tov. Should have a wonderful Mashiach Suda. And we should talk to Bizaycha that this should be the Goyal Achran should come and take all these Naragolos, take it from Yad Mamish. Good Yom Tov.